Right now, Russia and China are closely aligned, but running a hypothetical simulation of a direct military conflict between these two superpowers in 2026 reveals the terrifying logistical realities of modern warfare. Any ground war begins along their shared 4,200-kilometer border. The Russian Far East is resource-rich, but extremely sparsely populated. For an invading force, the dense taiga, marshlands, and freezing temperatures act as a brutal bottleneck. To hold this territory, Russian forces would rely almost entirely on one highly vulnerable route, the Trans-Siberian Railway. Protecting this rail line is their primary objective, because severing it isolates the entire Eastern Front. This chart shows the stark numerical mismatch on the ground. The People's Liberation Army commands 2 million active-duty personnel and operates a defense budget well over $250 billion, easily eclipsing Russia's 1.3 million troops and lower financial reserves. But raw numbers do not dictate the outcome. Russia offsets that troop deficit with extensive, recent combat experience. Their forces operate heavily in high-attrition environments, using modern drone tactics and electronic warfare. In contrast, the PLA fields highly modernized equipment, but lacks major, large-scale combat experience in the 21st century. Pushing a massive, largely untested army through unforgiving terrain against a hardened defensive force neutralizes that initial manpower advantage. The result is a deadly, localized ground stalemate. To break that deadlock, military doctrine requires pulling the fight out of the trenches, pushing it into the air and out onto the ocean. China would leverage an expanding air force featuring over 1,400 frontline aircraft, specifically pushing their fifth-generation J-20 stealth fighters to secure the skies. Simultaneously, they would deploy a massive naval fleet built to overpower the much smaller Russian Pacific Fleet. The tactical goal on the water is to suppress critical maritime hubs, particularly the port of Vladivostok, to cut off any remaining sea supply routes. Establishing unquestioned air and sea dominance completely isolates the geographical theater. To survive, the defending military has to reach for weapons outside the conventional battlefield. The battle space immediately expands. Before another artillery shell drops, both sides would initiate a multi-domain campaign to completely blind each other. Ground-launched anti-satellite missiles and directed energy weapons aim into low Earth orbit, targeting the delicate sensor arrays of the enemy's intelligence network. This animation shows the precise targeting of massive satellite constellations like GPS, Russia's GLONASS, and China's Beidou networks. Down on the surface, the effects hit instantly. Without those orbital signals, precision-guided munitions miss their marks, and frontline military communications collapse. While the satellites burn up, covertly planted zero-day digital exploits activate deep behind enemy lines. These cyber attacks bypass military targets. They strike civilian infrastructure, taking down central power grids, financial networks, and national command centers. Modern superpower warfare cannot be contained to a geographical frontline. It requires destroying the digital and infrastructural foundation that keeps the opponent's civilization running. When conventional defenses fail and the state is openly threatened, Russian military doctrine authorizes a terrifying response: the deployment of tactical nuclear weapons. Vaporizing a PLA supply hub or staging ground in Manchuria with a single low-yield warhead forces an immediate nuclear response. That local tactical strike triggers the launch of strategic intercontinental ballistic missiles, pitting massive delivery systems like Russia's RS-28 Sarmat against China's DF-41. This map models the exact physics of those launches. The missiles utilize parabolic, suborbital trajectories, punching into space before turning back toward Earth. Because of this extreme physics, a defending nation has a total warning window of only 20 to 30 minutes. Interception is physically impossible for current defense systems. As the re-entry vehicles fall back through the atmosphere, they accelerate to a terminal velocity exceeding Mach 20. But even if those silos remain closed, the fallout of a purely conventional war still reaches everyone. The sudden halt of Chinese manufacturing and Russian energy exports would shatter the global supply chain overnight. A direct clash between these superpowers ensures mutually assured destruction. If they don't achieve it with falling satellites and hypersonic warheads, they guarantee it through a complete global economic collapse.